Hi guys, I'm out on a walk in Luna. I wanted to experiment with doing a few of these videos outdoors. I thought it would make for more interesting backdrop. I don't know if the audio will be any good. I'll probably get a like a selfie stick and record for future videos. But anyway, yeah, it's fucking hot. I should have come out earlier. It's absolutely fucking roasting. I overslept a bit. Fucking hell. Anyway, yeah. Say hello, Luna. Say hello. No. She told you to fuck off. She said get out my fucking face. Yeah, so I wanted to talk a little bit about anxiety. My experience with anxiety. I've had it as long as I can remember, or from as far back as I can remember. I was a pretty anxious person. I don't think I am so much now, really. I think I've learned to deal with it and kind of subvert it, I guess. And yeah, I want to talk a little bit about that experience. Fucking hell, I'm pouring sweat. Yeah, I remember when I was a kid, I was like really weirdly preoccupied with death. I used to think about death a lot because I wasn't from a religious family, so death was just death, the end of everything you know and love, eternal blackness, nothingness. And you're alright, Pooch, you're a little bit too hot. Yeah, I'll probably make this a short walk. I was very concerned about that. I overheard a conversation about it once when I was very young. I overheard my brothers talking about it, about like the nothingness of death and stuff, and it really sort of stuck with me, and I became very consumed by this thought, and it would just hit me. It's like feeling of dread, just complete dread. Just waiting for Luna to take a piss. Just feeling of total dread and despair, and it would sort of rise up and kind of just completely take over me. And whatever I was doing, wherever I was, I'd suddenly just feel genuinely pretty terrible, because I know there's anxiety, and then there's I guess there are different words for it as well. Panic attacks, anxiety attacks, whatever. And I know there's kind of levels to it, and I remember this was actually pretty bad, because kids obviously can dramatise things, but when I remember it, I think, God, if I had a kid and they felt like that, I'd be pretty concerned that they were so stressed out at such a young age. And it used to happen in the night, and I would just get up and start watching. There were certain things I used to use to comfort or distract myself. That was usually Asterix books or Friends videos, and I would just put those on. I would get up and get one of those books where I had a TV in my room, and I would just put that on and sit fucking 3 inches from the screen and try to just pretend that this shit wasn't in my head. We typically don't really talk to kids about things like that, like death and stuff, really. I think most people don't anyway, so no one was particularly helpful. I don't begrudge them for that particularly, it's whatever. And I think I was from a family of 4 boys, so I think so you hear all sorts of different complaints and shit, and I was, as well as having genuine problems, I was also fucking dramatic and a bit ridiculous and exaggerated stuff, and I was quite attention-seeking kid, and quite, I don't know, like probably in some ways a little bit dishonest as well, and whatever. So I think it was easy to lump it in with that. And you know, death is scary. Like, you should kind of be scared of death, really. I mean, or at least it's normal to be. Oh, sorry, Luna. She was going to take another one of her little tiny pisses. I don't know if I can't really see the screen. I don't know if you can fucking see anything because the light's behind me. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, I would be. There were a lot of other things I'd be anxious about. I mean, I was like, sort of. I was very afraid in general at that age. Afraid of other kids. Afraid of like physical confrontations. Afraid of what would happen if I did this or that, and ironically I never worried about any of the things I should have worried about, like, you know, where my life was headed or what I was doing with it, or the sort of real outcomes that I was likely to face that would actually cause me problems. And that trend of worrying about the wrong things continued well into my adulthood. I think the peak of my anxiety was from around 16 until like my early 20s, I guess. And that was also the time in my life when I was smoking the most weed, because clearly if you've got a lot of problems like that, weed does not help. If you watched a lot of my videos, you'll know I'm not like anti-weed, but I kind of I think it's definitely it can cause a lot of problems, I think, and it can be very bad, and I think it's not for some people, and it depends on what time you're going through in your life and what your relationship with it is like and how well you can handle it, whatever. And at that time I definitely should not have been smoking so much weed and doing so many drugs. But anyway, yeah, at that point I began to worry a lot as well about, when I was older, more sort of existential stuff, weird stuff, as well as general dread or feeling I had done things or bad things were going to happen in my life. I would have experiences as well, like I had some humiliating experiences, both online and offline, and kind of in my public life and private life, and I sort of did certain things I wasn't happy with, and my own personality became like a pretty big issue as I got older. I exhibit a lot of like very narcissistic, unpleasant kind of personality disorder-ish behaviour. When I was in my late teens, early 20s, I became quite a monster in some ways, I think. Maybe monster is too strong of a word, because I like to think, and I hope, I never really actually caused anybody that much harm. But my thoughts were very messed up and selfish and bad, and a lot of the time, not always, but that became a source of anxiety, and I always had this feeling like someone or something was going to get me, like I was going to get what I deserved, and everything was going to come crashing down, and my life was going to be over, and it was my fault, or I was going to be humiliated or exposed as a freak, or I was I don't know, you know, and it was a lot of stuff like that. There was no shortage of things to be worried about, and I also would worry. I mean, getting older, I started to live in more like shitty areas and stuff, and weird living situations, and I was always thinking, oh, you know, the guy upstairs is a murderer, or like the fucking people there are spying on me, or fucking. And then it was also a lot of anxieties about my creative work, like, oh, people are stealing my songs, or this is going to happen, and someone's going to do this, and I'm going to lose everything. And there was just always something. And like, I got into a relationship with someone who was also herself quite anxious. Let me show you some of this scene. It's fucking beautiful. I'm on a shitty camera, so I don't know how much you can see. Amazing. What do you think, Luna? What do you think? Hello. Yeah, and she was also quite anxious, and I think even she, sorry, I don't know if my hands are fucking shaking all over the place. Yeah, it's the anxiety. I'm so anxious I can't even, no, I feel good right now. Yeah, so there was always something, and she even would get a bit like, I mean, she's always very cool about it, or generally, but she even would be like, fucking hell, man, like, you're anxious, you know. I was always, paranoid was often more the word than anxious, you know, and I guess as it relates to weed, that was very often the case, just paranoia. And she was quite, you know, aware of it as well, and thinking, Jesus, this is a lot, you know, you're always paranoid or anxious about something. And now I'm not really. I don't know. I don't know if it's genetic or if it's, or you know, if it's nature or nurture or whatever. Because I mean, hang on, I'm gonna pause this and start again in case. Yeah, I don't know, because I mean, my dad is an extremely anxious person, stressed person, and he always was when I was growing up. He was always worried about stuff. He didn't strike me as a particularly happy or relaxed man growing up, and they worked from home, my parents, so I was around their business-related stress a lot. And just general stress, you know, and a lot of very bad things happened in my family as well when I was a kid. So I don't know. I do think there's a pretty strong genetic component, to be honest, because I don't know. There's something in our minds that is just a little bit torturous in my family, I think, for all of us. And to me, I've started to see it lately as being almost. I've gotten kind of comfortable in my own mind, in my own life, in my own brain, and I can deal with most of that stuff. I think that I am on some level fundamentally uncomfortable on a universal level. You know, it's like I'm not entirely comfortable on this planet, in this existence, and that is where most of it comes from. And I think I had that from a very young age, just feeling like something wasn't quite right, and I still feel like something's not quite right, and I don't quite understand existence and my life and whatever. And that is definitely a lot better to me than worrying constantly about the day-to-day and always being nervous and stressed and stuff, because that shit is just a fucking time waste, and it eats away at you. It eats away at your life, and it ruins all your fun, and it makes you often, I think, probably annoying to be around. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, let's start heading back the other way now. Come on, Luna. Yeah, so the ways I started to deal with it, one of the main things that's come up again and again in me sort of dealing with it is anger has been quite useful. Not anger, not, you know, rage, not petulant anger, but just genuinely feeling a bit angry, like I've spent my whole fucking life paranoid and anxious, and I'm like, these days especially, I'm always trying to do the right thing and be a decent person and contribute to, you know, life and whatever else, and I'm always unhappy, I'm always like stressing. It started to annoy me, and I just would sort of feel like, fuck off, you know, like this is fucking annoying, like I don't want to feel like this. It's irritating, and it's making me feel like a fucking pussy, really, and it's like, it's just it's not necessary, and I don't agree with it, and it's kind of not me in a way, and that's come up a lot, and it helps, and that's something that's a bit hard to hold on to. It kind of comes and goes, or it used to, you know. I had various phases. I had a few phases even during the peak of all of this where I would feel better for quite a while, because I would somehow get into this thing mentally where I would sort of get it into my head, like no, you know, I'd just be like, no, like every time I come up, it's just like, no, this is just stupid, just shut up, you know. And that might sound like a bit of a a sort of blunt way to deal with the situation, but it helped me a lot. The other thing is, or one of the other things is, just remembering all the other times I was anxious, and how fucking useless it was, and how meaningless it was, and how it didn't achieve anything, and none of those fucking things even happened. And a bunch of other bad shit that I wasn't worrying about did happen. So what's the fucking point, you know? And realising also, things are never going to be perfect or good or free from worry. There's always, like, you know, everyone you know and love is going to die. You're going to die. Terrible things can happen. There's so many awful ways that your life can go. And there's so much potential pain and misery around you that you could worry about. But why? Like, you know, it doesn't achieve anything apart from, as long as you have a healthy awareness of danger and the realities of life, you don't need to feel like shit just because the life isn't always great, you know? It helps to remember that, you know, and to sort of realise how much time I wasted on it. I don't think these two strategies are things you can wield immediately. I think they're ideas or ways of thinking that you have to come round to over time, or at least I did. I had to gradually come round to thinking this way. I had to get to a point. That's a fucking nice breeze. I had to get to a point, you know, where, like, I thought that enough. It's a long, gradual change in your perspective that becomes innate after a while, but at first it's not necessarily. It's more just an idea. And in terms of more practical, tangible things, exercise. Fucking hell, man. Like, I don't do that much cardio now, apart from walking with little Poochie over here. Hello. I don't do that much cardio now. Yeah, I used to do loads, and that helped so much. Like running all the time, just exercising, getting outside, going for runs in the morning, and just like, just for me anyway, I'd feel all my anxieties just start to dissipate as soon as I started running. As soon as I hit the track, as it were. I just felt everything, I'd feel these thoughts going through my head, all the things I was anxious about, I'd feel all of them. It was the same if I was like arguing with my girlfriend or whatever, and I just got outside and run, and it's just like, man, it's amazing. I never went with music, I never ran with music. I found it a bit of a faff anyway with the headphones, and like, it can be great if you want to really, really, really push yourself long distance. I think it's quite good to sort of motivate you and push you, but I also felt it was a good time for me to just get out, feel completely free, clear my head, and not have anything weighing me down or distracting me or whatever, and I'll just go for like half an hour, and that helped enormously. And still at times, if I feel like, you know, shit's getting on top of me a bit, I can just go running, and it's always really good, always feels amazing. I think cardio feels better than anything else you can do. I think it's better than any fucking drug they're gonna try and shove down your throat to treat a problem that, like, on some level is not necessarily always chemical, but for the chemical aspect of it. I'm not totally against drugs for things like this, but I think they are massively overprescribed, and I also think people are massively overly diagnosed with conditions when often it's just a moment in your life. It's a phase, or it's a thing that hasn't been dealt with correctly. What are you? Oh shit! What's that? Is that poop? What are you doing, Luna? Oh, I'm gonna have to wash her. She was just about to roll in shit. Don't know if she got any of it on her. Happens like probably once every like 3 or 4 months. No one really knows why dogs do this, but they just roll in shit. That one was fine. It wasn't too bad. She would have hurt herself on that gravel, but she's done it before with like massive shits. One of the first days we had her, she rolled in a massive shit in the park, like huge, and she was still running around trying to be cute, like running over to us, and we were like, no, get back, like running away from her. She had it all down one side of her face. She looked like kind of like Braveheart, and she just like kept coming over and trying to like play with us, and we were like, no, please. And we had to get her home and wash her with the hose and shit. It was fucking, yeah, it was nuts. It happened once again after that. Thank God that one just now, she didn't seem to really get anything on. I will have to give her a wash. Anyway, yeah. But I don't think my opinions on the whole fucking industry of it as a whole are really important for this purposes of this video. Come on. But anyway, yeah, for me, definitely focusing on more, less, it's not dependence forming. Like, for example, for me, running wasn't dependent on it. It didn't have side effects. I didn't have to pay for it. It kept me healthy and fit, and it broadened my mind, and it was a hobby and an activity, and it didn't blunt my emotions or my sex drive. To me, that was a much better solution. And in general, physical solutions in general, I mean, like just not eating certain things, not living in certain ways, not engaging in certain behaviours, making sure to sleep, making sure to eat right. Sleep is, that can't be stressed enough. It took me years to understand how important that is. Those things really fucking helped. Yeah. So my space is running out on here now, so I guess that's me done. I'll add more to this video if I think of it, but I'll probably do more on separate kind of subcategories. Anyway, catch you later, guys.